Warm welcome to you and welcome to the Ben Breakfast Show. It's Tuesday, the 15th of September 2015. I'm Chinode Tsengalumbwe.
I am Tomi Badejoko. Welcome to the show. As usual, we have so many things to talk about. We have wonderful guests in the studios today. You don't want to miss this. Go and grab your coffee. Are you at work? Grab your coffee or tea. Are you at home? Lie down on the sofa and tune in. It's the Ben Breakfast Show.
Yes, and of course, it is a live breakfast show if you're joining us for the first time. We've got a fully packed show this morning. Very exciting for you in the sense that we've got three guests joining us this morning. Tammy?
Yes, we have three, and we have a wonderful author in our midst. She's a writer. And, you know, she wrote a book about the African culture mixed with other things around the world. I'm really impressed by people that write, people that do things and appreciate Nigerian culture. Are you from Akwa Ibom there? Okay. The Akwa Ibom people too. We have a lot of people coming from your state to tell you a lot of things. And we have the last guest, Chinode.
Yes, of course. We've got the last the guest who represents a Mission Beyond Borders, which is an independent charity that's trying to help the deprived here in the UK and especially in Europe.
Yes.
And, you know, I was looking at the same organization, which is similar to some of the organizations that are dealing with the actual crisis right now in Europe regarding migrants, which has now become
the order of the day.
The order of the day. It's, you know, it's become a common headline.
Yes.
And we'll be joined by the representative of Mission Beyond Borders during the course of this live breakfast show.
Yes, so joining us this morning, it's a beautiful woman in the studio. Her name is Chimaechi Allan, and she is the writer of The Wedding Week, which we would like you to hear more about it. Welcome. Good morning, Chimaechi.
Hi.
Oh,
Nice
what
to
a
be here.
beautiful smile. That's melting already. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting
we really
me.
appreciate it, and you look very beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So, talking about the book, The Wedding Week.
Yes, well, book or books.
Oh, the books, yes.
So it's a children's book. So we have it here in English, and we also have it in Hausa and English. We have it in Yoruba and English, and we have it in Igbo and English.
Wow.
So it's an opportunity for those who need to brush up their language.
Great.
Or those who are learning to read in their mother tongue as well as in English, to improve their literacy. And then it's accessible by loads of people around the world who speak English already. So
Yes. So if we may ask, or I may ask you, before
Sure.
Chinode pops his own questions today, what was the inspiration behind it? Because, you know, the Wedding Week, and, you know, you have it in Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, you even have it in American English.
Yes.
You forgot to tell them that.
Yes,
and
that's
British
true.
English. So
Yes.
what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, there are two inspirations really. One very positive, one very negative. The positive one is, as it suggests, the first book that someone writes is usually autobiographical,
Yes.
so about their own life.
Like,
So
yeah.
I was planning my wedding last year, and by the grace of God, I got married last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And during that process, I learned a lot about the wedding traditions, even in the church wedding that we're all familiar with. There are little things like the bride walks up on the left-hand side of the groom because in the olden days the groom would have a sword just in case to keep his other hand free to fight off any other suitors. So just little things like that. I began to learn so much about the wedding traditions and thought to myself, this is a great educational opportunity. We have things in here that are... Children are learning these words, family words, food words, music words, dance words, days of the week, counting. And it's like weddings bring all these things together.
Yes.
And so it's a great learning opportunity. So that was the positive inspiration. The negative one was, unfortunately, I went into a children's bookshop in Lagos in 2008, and none of the books had black children on them or African languages in them. And at that time, I was working for a publishing house in London, producing exactly that, books with black children, books with Asian children in. and it just seemed to me like we're missing out. We're not really using what we have in our culture to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
So I wanted to step in and join those dots.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, well, excellent. Firstly, I was going to say you've written in 5 languages. Okay. I mean, how were you able to write in 5 languages?
Oh, with a lot of help.
I'll start by saying, can you speak all those 5 languages?
No.
And the reason you wrote, could you give us just one reason why you decided to diversify it into 5 languages?
One of the, well, I have always had a passion for English and reading, and so I read English at university, and so I was always inclined to reading and writing in English. But I never saw my mother tongue, Igbo, written down until I was in my 20s.
Wow.
And the effect that had on me was so powerful because you've been hearing it. It's like the soundtrack of your life, but you've never seen it. And it just seems so odd that we often as Africans, we are very, we're people of the book, you know. We're like, learn your books, study,
your book.
you know. But if your own language is not part of that study, then it's like relegated to a secondary thing.
Yeah, it is.
And so I wanted to honor the languages by bringing them into the curriculum and making sure that they were done right. So if I were to write the Igbo, it would be a little bit,
tricky.
a little bit restaurant, a little bit at home Igbo. So I actually hired 3 translators to make sure that it was perfect and edited and everything. So the quality is very important to me.
How's the in the 5 languages? How's it been received in all the languages? Would you say it's been received equally in all languages, or probably one language has had a bigger share of how people have responded?
Well, I think, Tommy will know the Yorubas are many. so it's always nice to put that one first. I usually start with that one because the chances are whoever you're talking to is probably Yoruba or has heard it or has seen it or knows someone who is. So that's been wonderful. The reception has been wonderful. But also the ICSN, who you might know, the Igbo Cultural Support Network, and Umu Igbo Unite. It's another Igbo organization in America. Both of them have received it really, really well. So just the main thing is when I show people a bit of their culture or their language, if they read it and they say, yes, this reads well, or yes, this is exactly what I do, or yes, this reminds me of home. That's all I need. That's what I'm looking for, that recognition, providing people with a moment of saying, yes, this is me being reflected back.
So if I may ask, who are your target audience?
Oh, well, not to put too fine a point on it. You've got 2 kids who are 6 and 4, so there are.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them. But anybody who, teachers, primary school teachers have been very, very warm in their reception of this book. Proprietors and proprietresses, so I've been into Nigeria working with them and listening to what their needs are before I made this. So I think they'll receive it as well. People who are interested in raising like a dual language household, they want to make sure that we're using both languages, those people. But also there are cultures outside Africa that are represented here. So a lot of different people will find themselves reflected in this book.
Mostly for parents?
I would say for parents and children,
teachers.
4+ and teachers. But even those who are just interested in seeing their language, reading their language, improving.
Then how about libraries? Have you tried libraries? Because you didn't mention libraries.
It's actually being distributed in libraries in New Zealand at the moment and Australia. So I'm working on getting it into more continents. It's in 5 continents so far. So.
How about libraries in the UK?
It's in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline. But if you're a librarian, just ring up.
I like that.
I was going to say, what are some of the highlights in this book? What does the book actually talk about? I'm sure the viewers at home are so much interested in knowing what the actual book talks about. I'll start by saying, does it talk about how to avoid divorce?
My goodness, I'm not sure if a 4-year-old would need to know that. But let me read you a little bit. So we have here Gecko the lizard, who is on every page. So the little ones really enjoy finding him, spotting him on every page. And then we have 7 days of the week leading up to this beautiful wedding scene that the children are going to attend. So every day we're going through, and even the end papers, just before you even get into the story,
prints.
you can start to identify kola
wedding
nut,
gifts,
jollof rice, ashoke, and all these things. So there's gecko again.
Yeah.
So we just start with the Saturday, and we go all the way through the week up to the wedding day, which is again Saturday. So every day the children learn a different thing that happens at weddings, not just here in Nigeria where they live. So they're talking about the gifts, the kola nut, the pepper, the honey.
Yeah.
And then they learn that in China they also give gifts, but their gifts are different. They have the red envelopes with the money in them as gifts. So and then you can spot the lizard. I won't tell you where he is. You can spot him.
He's on the table.
There he is. There he is. So on every page you get a similarity between what goes on here in Africa and there somewhere else.
Good. Interesting, because I didn't even know, you know, we're talking about Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. We didn't even know there was a bit of Chinese in there. So that's really good. And I will like, if you want to ask Chimaechi any questions, you know the number to call. It's flashing on the screen. I will say it again, 0208-808-0693. Parents, teachers, you want to get this book for your kids, or you want to put it in your local library, you want to, you know, or you're a teacher, you want it to be distributed in your school, you know, just call up, or you just want to ask her questions, because I think she's doing a very good job giving kids access to their own traditional languages as opposed to the normal English. You know, you have Hausa here, you have Igbo here, you have Yoruba here, you have no excuse not to get this book. So if you want to ask Chimaechi any questions, the number to call is on, it's flashing on your screen. So Chimaechi, where can they get this book?
It's actually on Amazon already. It's also on iTunes as an ebook, and it's also in several stores in the UK. So one of them is the Willesden Bookshop, which has moved from Willesden. It's actually in Highgate in North London. There is also a bookshop in Lagos that's also now stocking it. It's going to go into Abuja later in the year. So there are a number of places online.
Yeah, and it's on
offline.
Amazon. So and everybody
Amazon
has
is the main one. You know,
yeah,
you have access
Amazon.
to that.
And it's called The Wedding Week.
Yeah.
It's called The Wedding Week. So and it's interesting because it enlightens people. Chinade, do you want to tell us about the wedding in Zambia? Quickly.
What, the weddings in Zambia?
Yeah, I'd like to learn
how does
more.
it happen?
Well, actually, good Tammy has mentioned that, because I was going to ask that in terms of tradition, this book, you know, you've written in Yoruba and various languages. Well, would you say this will actually help children who are born of Nigerian or Zambian or Zimbabwean origin outside Nigeria into the UK? Would that sort of like give them information if they're, for example, marrying you know, a European or Asian, because you find that at times, you know, you might be marrying a Scottish or English, and then there's a culture clash. You sort of like buy into the other culture, not knowing so much about your culture.
This is it. So one of the things I learnt during the process of organising my wedding was that weddings provide an iconic snapshot of a culture. So it's a good moment for you to learn about what you're inheriting and what you what this rite of passage looks like in your culture. So it gives all that information to children, but it also just shows the similarities. So there might be cultures and traditions in Scotland that are slightly different, but at bottom there are lots of similarities.
Yeah, there are.
Lots and lots of similarities.
Right,
so that's what
I'll
this
just
book draws.
keep you for a moment there as we just take this phone call. Good morning and welcome to the Ben Breakfast Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and please do go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Inka. How are you, Tommy, and
Chimaechi, Chinade and Chimaechi.
Radiant good brother there.
Good morning,
Good
Inka.
morning.
Thank you for calling. We're fine.
Let me encourage the writer
Yeah.
very well, and for her to look inward in order to project African culture and tradition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But before I tried as much as possible to ring through, I was fighting within myself to phantom the title of the book to what he deliberately put inside the book. These are educative objects and items in that book, which is very good. But the title, The Wedding Week, yes, my other side of me is saying that accept it. Because nowadays, during our days in Nigeria, you don't use this title for children books. because of what it connotes. But at the moment, you said that you got married last year.
Yes.
And, you know, somebody like me, that I was even above 40 before I can even woo my girlfriend. So nowadays, when I came into this country, I realized that 2021, they started family, which Nigeria or African countries should imbibe. And that is to decide that I'm going to accept the title. Because, like, when we are talking about children's book, we want to teach them what they need to know at the elementary level. Not that maybe what you will need to experience or a catchy title that they will look into the shelf book and say, wedding week, let me see what I'll be talking to my boyfriend about it. But inside your book, you have a lot of issues to discuss, which really make me to be proud of you.
Thank
I'm
you.
very, very proud of you.
Thank you,
and
sir.
being a lady, like a lot of people have been coming on this television station saying that women have been marginalized. Can you imagine this beautiful lady on her own, putting something together? You can imagine this.
Yes.
Then this is the 24th century that the world has given everybody to showcase the talents in them, the inbuilt talent. And that is what we need to celebrate.
Thank you,
We're
sir.
going to celebrate you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Sky is your limit. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, Inga, for calling, and thank you so much, Chimaechi. The
Thank
sky
you.
is the limit.
That's quite an interesting call.
Yeah.
Thank
We
you.
don't have long to go. You asked me about the Zambian wedding. Well, the
Yes.
Zambian wedding
Yes.
is what is called lobola, where you have to pay money
Yes.
before you win the bride.
Yes.
But unfortunately, you can't pay with a credit card. And they say that if, for example, if you charge £1,000 for you or Tammy, you don't have to pay it in full. If you pay it in full, they think you're degrading them. You only have to pay 500.
That's what we do too in the Yoruba people. There's a bride price. They'll say, okay, this is the price, but they don't want to act like they give the bride price out, but they return it back because we don't want to be selling our child to you, but it's just the tradition to look like, okay, you paid down something.
I wish you could pay by credit card sometimes.
This is what we often do. We go straight for the money. We go straight for the money. And I think one of the concerns of the caller was that there are things in weddings that are above children's heads, and I agree.
Yes.
And that's why I had to think about, do you remember the first wedding you went to? Do you remember what your memories were of it?
I was.
Usually food
and dance.
Running around with your cousins. So those are the things that, that are focused on.
Other family members.
Meeting other family members, wearing these new and uncomfortable clothes, or looking good in your new gele, having your hair done. And those are the things that are really brought forward here. So it's not like adult content for children. It's more the child's eye view.
Defrosting them, preparing for it.
Yeah, because it's the first one that these children have been to. So these are the kinds of things that they will really notice and enjoy. Food, wearing clothes, and then going and meeting cousins and playing and gifts and so on. So I think that's the focus.
Okay. Because I normally look forward to most of we have a caller?
I was just going to say time not with us.
Okay.
We'll have to wrap up shortly. Just your final words or thoughts, or how people can reach your
book or
purchase.
I would be very grateful if you want to buy a copy of the book in any of the 5 languages. It's on Amazon. It's also on my website, which is www.kioglobal.com. So that's the name of the publishing company that I run. And I would be grateful to see your reviews online, just to see what you think. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling. Oh, sorry. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it.
And thank you for trying to do this. You know, trying to enlighten kids to their culture. It's really, really important. Maybe Chinade will give you the Zambian flavor, and you can do the Zambian bit of it. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's one Africa, one continent, one world, one global village. You're on the Live Ben Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for joining us, Tammy.
Yeah, we'll quickly go on a short break back. Now, when we return, we will continue the Ben Breakfast Show. Don't go anywhere. Bye.
Specializing in all aspects of property lettings and management. If you have a property, tenanted or empty, contact Keywrite on 0208 808 57